Welcome to the bench. Horus, good buddy. How you doing? All right, this way.
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. We've got a great show to you today. We've got it's a bit of a classic show, an old school
Yes.
show, if you will. We're gonna do Fighting Over 40 today. Before we jump into that, I want to point out something that everyone missed last week. Every single person missed it.
What?
I know. So, if you remember, the bench episode 17, the Four Horsemen, that's what it looked like on Facebook, right? You don't see it because you're attached to the program right now, but everybody, Banjax, yeah, because I told you, Banjax. But if you clicked on the picture and look at the entire thing, we had a little fifth guest that was on the little banner there.
Oh my god.
Everyone missed it. Banjax, you missed it because I told you about it. That doesn't count. So anyway, maybe pay attention to some Easter eggs in the future. I don't know. Maybe there'll be more. Let's talk events. I added a whole bunch. So Horst, this is your show. If you'd like to talk about the events.
Absolutely. Frost Gileath is upcoming. First event of the new year. It looks like January 11th. Where is Frost Gileath? What? I feel like I know this one.
Misty told me about it. I think it's East Coast. I'm so bad at this. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Probably too far away for me, but go check it out. Fighting is fun. Hey, dogs. Doing dog things. Battle for the Ring is right after, January 16th through 19th. That one is always super fun in California. I can't go this year. I want to make it back someday. It's so fun. Camping during January and nice weather is always a great time. Look at the puppy. Oh, you guys can't see the puppy. Never mind. Then the Numenor invasion, January 25th. I will absolutely be there because it's like 15 minutes from my house. And it'll be a good time. I don't actually know who's invading. I asked the question, and they were like, people. And I was like, cool. So we had a sort of mini invasion yesterday at practice. Thank you, everybody from Peoria that showed up. That was a great last practice of the year. Yeah, then Frostbane is January 30th through February 2nd in Florida. Looks like a lot of fun. Maybe one day I'll make that. Or unless... I don't know. I probably can't make that either. I'm sorry. My work schedule is terrible this year. I'm actually surprised I'm not working right now. I almost had to tell you that too. But it's okay. They broke stuff, so I don't have to work. Wolfpack opener is then February 22nd. Fingers crossed everything goes well the weekend before, and I'll be there. Tanith will definitely be at that one. That one is always a lot of fun. It's pretty much like one of the best single day events that is in the Midwest, at least, in Bloomington, Illinois. Punic Wars, April 5th. I believe that's is this the one in Carthage in
Yes.
Southern Illinois? Oh yeah, I should go this year. That's really not that far away.
I'm going to try to make it too. It's fairly close to me.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. April 5th, Olympics Classic, April 24th through 27th. It's pretty much like the only thing that we have like outside of Armageddon and Oktoberfest for like real like tournament centered fighting. Like pretty much every year for the past like decade is Olympics is the tournaments that like we actually show up and try to win. This is a lot of fun. Go to that fight. It's also a camping event. You don't have to only go on Saturday. And everybody has a good time.
Are you going?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I will probably not camp, but I will definitely be at Olympics if something else isn't scheduled over it, like it was last year, but probably be fine. Beltane, May 1st through 4th. That is in Tennessee. Always good time. Never had a bad time. Have I actually been to a Beltane? I feel like yeah, no, actually I've only been to Beltane. Never been to Equinox. That's a great event. I think it's still at Monty Bell.
I think so.
It's good. Good time. Go fight the people down there. So also you get people from a lot of different places because it's kind of like in the middle of a lot of different sword fighting groups. And SKBC in Missouri, May 15th through 18th. I'll make it a point to be at that one. everybody knows what SKBC is. Go learn stuff and fight good fighters.
Yes.
It'll be a good time.
And I am getting knighted. I'm getting my Belgarth knighthood at SKBC. So I implore everybody from the show to go. I specifically chose SKBC not just because it's in Missouri, because I was originally going to get knighted at Armageddon, but I wanted to go to SKBC because I wanted more people to come to SKBC. That was really my goal, and it's like, it's like if because I want to share the love of foam fighting and help everybody get trained up and do what they need to do. So that's the plan. Before we get started with the show content, I want to give a shout out to three folks technically, but I don't know who the third folk is. But I want to give a shout out to Tiff, who is doing a watch party at her house for the bench. So thank you. Love the Dunlin ladies so much. Y'all are super supportive. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Lindsay, who I specifically said I would give a shout out to if she made it to the show, and she has made it to the show. So thank you, Lindsay, and welcome. Let's meet our guests, shall we? We've lost one of them already. What happened to Bo? Show up. There's Bo.
Right here.
Okay.
Bo's back.
Welcome, Warlord Sir Glen and Sir Beauregaurd. Welcome to the bench. In Glen's case,
Howdy.
welcome back to the bench.
Yeah.
Let's take a little look-see at our agenda, shall we? Drum roll. The agenda is: who is Beauregaurd? How is Glen? What is it like to fight when you're over 40? What limitations do I have? Why are my little bullet points again not centered on the agenda? How do we do long-term maintenance? How do I prepare for an event? And what would I tell my younger self? Sounds like a great agenda to me. So let's start with Glen. How's Glen?
I'm doing well. That's about it. So I'm a grad student working on a PhD, so the semester's over, so things have both calmed down because there's less people on campus irritating me, but they've also gotten much busier because now there's less people around, so I can actually get work done. So that's my life lately. That's about it. Trying to get more fighting in, but I haven't been getting as much in because the weather's been crap in Texas. It's been raining only on the weekends.
Oh.
So I'm a little fussy. So that's how I am.
That's fair. We in my old band that I was in, we were trying to write a song called "It Always Rains on Sunday" to basically express that it's time to fight and it's raining, of course. So I feel you on that. It's a thing. I feel like there's some evidence to support that potentially. I don't know. Well, probably not. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, Glen.
Thank you.
Sir Beauregaurd, welcome to the show.
Howdy. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Thank you. Living the dream.
Heck yeah. I have a very important question for you. Beauregaurd, who are you?
I am Sir Beauregaurd. Brutus Alevel the Implacable is the whole, long title. Everyone just calls me Beau. So, yeah. I was treasurer of Belgarth for 10 years or so. Ran that same number of Armageddons, a great number of them, and then took some time off to build a career, and then have recently returned to fighting. I never really left fighting. It wasn't like I just was busy raising a family and doing stuff. So.
Heck yeah. So how did you get your start in fighting?
So I had my ex-wife, her best friend was Kale. Anyone know who Kales is? That's the person who started Clan of the Hydra way back when. So he was, friends with her, and then I found fighting, and it was just like an instant moth to the light, just sucked me right in.
Heck yeah. And are you in a unit right now?
Yes, I'm currently in the Emir.
Okay.
Although I did not start Hydra, but I did a lot of the heavy lifting to get it to where it is and where it was. So I was High Commander of that unit for 10, 12 years, something like that, 13 years.
Okay.
And brought that into kind of national prominence
Okay.
from essentially a unit. It was originally, Clan of the Hydra was originally the realm. It wasn't even a unit. And then Peregrine liked how we did things, but he was in Muxlovia, and he said he wanted to join our what we were doing. And then we kind of, me and Kale and several other of the Hydra people from way back when, sat down and realized, like, hey, we're not a realm, we're a unit. And so we were like, oh, well, we should probably change that. So it was like a big, then we created the Realm of Rune.
Okay.
And then Hydra became a unit, and then the rest is history.
So I want to shout out, thank you, Pink Raven, for subscribing with your Prime membership. If anybody doesn't realize this, you get 1 free subscription if you have an Amazon Prime account. So if you're not using it for anything else, the bench would love to have your subscription. That'd be super cool. I have turned off ads because I got a lot of feedback that people don't like ads, so I turned them off. So you'd just be doing it to support the bench, but I think that's a great thing. Support the bench, right? That's cool. Beauregard, back to you. Or Bo. I'm going to call you Bo now.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you're in Hydra, now you're in the Emir. Have you been in any other units?
So technically Iron Crown, that was a response to, I gotta remember, this is like 15, 16 years ago, okay? This is like ancient history. Yeah, and so the Uruk-hai, the Moradane, and the Clan of the Hydra decided to make a sort of a super unit of sorts. And so the 3 of us came together. Because at that time, Hydra did not have a lot of the beef that they needed to stand in a line, Beauregaurd style, and take the brunt of it. And we had a lot of poles, though. And the Uruk-hai had an excess of beef and a total lack of poles and archers. And we were like, oh, this'll meld well. And so then that became a thing. And then we came together for, I think, 2 events, and it was very much a steamroller. Anyone who stood in front of it just got munched. It was
so
pretty
fun.
It was so much fun. Yeah, it was a blast. And then there was a lot of pushback from that, because anytime that happens, people get, at that time, fighting culture was different, and people got a little salty about it. And so we kind of just agreed that it probably wasn't a good idea to continue that.
I feel like that story was told before on this show.
Oh, I'm sure it was. Yeah,
I think I talked about Iron Crown before.
Maybe you did.
It was very fun.
Yeah.
Fighting an Iron Crown. Yeah.
And as a, I mean, back then, like, I was the leader of the Arbiters, which was essentially the flanking unit of Iron Crown, and so I would take like 10 people, and we would just like, hey, look, there's a flank, let's go smash it, because they were so worried about everything else, they didn't even know we were there. So just steamroll right through the side of them.
So how did you? I'm gonna turn it over to chat and see if chat has any questions for you. I'm gonna try to. What happened to my there?
What was the dog's name?
Dog's name is Chase. I have 3 dogs in the house. We have Houston, we have Prescott, and we have Chase.
Oh my god.
Chase is the oldest. Chase is about 14 right now. He's a little, he's 10 pounds of love.
Yes.
Hey Ice, welcome to the show. Good to see you. I know Ice. How did you get your name?
So I have me and my dad have the same first name, and so I've always had the nickname Bo. That has always been my nickname. Everybody's always called me Bo. Like, everybody, my kids, all of them. And so it was just a natural progression to use Bo. Well, then nobody in my realm believed that my real name wasn't Bo. And so there was a lot of pushback and a lot of, ribbon and whatnot. And so I was like, fine. So I started looking at like variations of Bo. And then I found out that the true meaning of Beauregaurd means beautiful man. And I'm like, oh, that's it. That's obviously it. Like, clearly. Exactly. Like, yes. I mean, clearly. And then the Brutus Alevo, there was a Dunharrow event. So Brutus Alevo means lifter of heavy things.
Okay.
And so that happened at a Dunharrow event. They had a feat of strength. And so it was to carry, this was Postal back then. And Postal was very big human.
Big
He
guy.
was like north of 300 pounds probably. And so the goal was to carry him a distance. And like I was the last person to go, and everyone was like, you'll never, because I'm not like a huge guy. And I'm just like, and everyone was telling me that like I was never going to get to the end or whatever. And I just kind of was like, I think I might. And so I just picked him up and I carried him there. And then I turned around and I came back.
Heck yeah.
And they were like,
That's insane.
That's nuts.
yeah. And so like, it was just one of those things where it was like, okay, so this became, so then I looked up the Latin word for lifter of heavy things, and it was Brutus level. I'm like, that's the perfect name.
It is
And
perfect.
then it
great.
became, yeah. And then when I was knighted, Kale is the one, I squired to my realm. Kale is the one who knighted me. He was the king of the realm at the time. And he gave me the Implacable as a moniker. And that means that you don't quit. And it doesn't mean that you don't quit when it suits you. It means you don't quit even when you should. So it has like a both a positive and a negative connotation, which is very true to my personality and lifestyle, because I don't quit. I'm not gonna quit. I'll make you quit.
Heck yeah.
As most people who fought me for any length of time realize, like, oh, I'm never gonna. He's never gonna tap. It's like, no, I'm not going to.
Heck yeah.
I'd rather die. It's better to die than it is to quit.
Love that.
Oh,
Question
Like-
from Banjex. How did you come up with your heraldry?
okay. So obviously, so my heraldry is the Atlas, but it carries in front. It's a very important distinction. So Atlas is cursed to carry the earth, right, by the gods, and so he has to carry it on his shoulders behind his head because he's cursed. I carry it in front because I choose to carry the earth. Like, it's a choice I make to continue to be like the pillar of community and hold things up for people, and it is a choice that I make to choose to do that. So lifter of heavy things, the earth is heavy, clearly, and so it just kind of all fit together.
I love it.
Yeah.
How long from Cypress 27? First, they remember Big Postal, and then thank
That's
you.
Cypress, right? Like the Cypress that's in
Probably.
Portland? Yeah, it's got to be.
Thank you for subscribing, Lindsay. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I will subscribe after this, by the way. Just
Thank
I
you.
can't right now because I'm technologically challenged. Oh, it is. Okay, yeah. Hey, Cypress.
How long have you been fighting?
22 years,
Oh,
probably.
hell yeah.
Maybe 23.
What's your favorite
Hell
from
yeah.
Copper Dragon Nexus? What's your favorite fighting style?
Yeah, probably sword and board. I do like me some big pole arms. I've never, so for the longest time when I've never arched, but I would always I've shot bow and arrow since I was like 5,
Mhm.
and so I always know that I can arch. It's just I never do because archers don't have a soul. That's the they don't have a soul. They have no soul at all. And so I never arch. But when I pole arm, I have a bow, I have arrows, and I would always set my stuff on the field, and I would shoot the couple of archers that were going to bother me as I was pole arming, and then I would go grab my pole and go to work because then I wouldn't get acid. It was like, so that
So
was like the
good.
longest, like, yeah, it's so much fun, right? Like,
Heck yeah.
I just zap the archers that are out of there, and then they're like, wait, Bo can arch? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. My name's Bo. What did you think? Like,
So good.
yeah. So
Heck yeah.
but yeah, I would say sword and board is probably my main style. That's usually what you'll see me doing on the field and whatnot.
Nice. Well, let's get started here. Our first agenda item is what is it like to fight when you're over 40? And Glenn, we're going to start with you. What is it like to fight when you're over 40? And this is kind of a context of in comparison to not being over 40.
Okay. Yeah, let me actually start by kind of giving myself a little, how old is Glenn introduction to fighting and what's going on with my fighting, to give you kind of some background, some little context for that. I started fighting when I was 26, so I came to foam fighting later than a lot of people. I played sports my whole life, played sports in college. When I got older, I found foam fighting and been great. I got my Warlord when I was 43. I'm currently 52, and I won my most recent tournament, large tournament, 3 weeks ago when I won Weapon Master, which for people who are not game herders is a large regional multi-category fighting tournament. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I've kind of kept active my fighting. I'm still winning tournaments. I'm still kind of at the top of my game. So the real difference in fighting between when I was much younger and now is I'm way better and I win a lot more, which is great. So that's probably the biggest difference, is that I've had time to build skill. Some people worry about getting slower as they get older, but I've always been slow, so I haven't really noticed any real significant degradation in my speed. So one of the things that probably comes up the most as far as what's changed in my life is a little bit slower recovery. Not a lot. Most of the time when people have slow recovery when they get into their 40s, even 50s, it's not because they're it's not because they don't have the physical capability. It's because they're out of shape, right? When you're 40, you usually have a desk job, right? You work all day, you come home, you sit on the couch, you watch some TV, you go to bed. That's your life. When you're 18, you go to class and you go out with your friends and you run around and you're much more active. So a lot of that just comes down to fitness, because even just being a weekend warrior helps with fitness, and so it's even more so. The other things that have changed really is just that I'm smarter about things. I wasn't playing when I was 18. When I was 18, I was playing sports in college, but that same kind of parallel still exists. I would play a game on Friday night. After the game, we would have a party at someone's house, right? We get some kegs, we drink beer until 4 a.m., right? And then we would go to bed and we would get up at 7 a.m. for our 8 o'clock game, right? And we would play a full game, right? And then a lot of times we would go out after that, right? And then Sunday, I would be hungover and miserable. Right? Not necessarily hungover, usually still drunk. But not in great shape, right? Not functional. And now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, if I do that, I'm going to be miserable Sunday, and I'd like to not lose a whole day of my life. Maybe I'll just cut down on the drinking. Actually, I don't drink much anymore at all. So because I can fight more if I don't drink. So I think really just kind of a refinement of what I do and a refinement of focus is the big difference. So, and it's actually something you can hear a lot. I'm not going to talk a lot about, now that I'm old, I'm slow and I hear so much better when I was younger. None of that's true, and I'm going to drop a lot of science on us to tell you that you're all wrong. And the reason you're not doing as well now that you're older is because you're not keeping pace, you're not practicing, you have untreated injuries, right? There's a lot of things that can happen that can decrease your fighting ability, but they're not just quote unquote getting old. They're always some other factor. So that's kind of my answer.
Bo, I totally bombed on asking you actually how old you are. That's important. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 48.
48. Okay.
48. Yep.
How is fighting different in your 40s since pre-40s?
I've been on the conservation of energy train and proper body mechanics train for going on 20 years. I mean, I can remember there are people who are still fighting who remember me telling them, like, why are you throwing that shot? That is going to thrash all the tendons in your elbow. That's not great. Like, either give it up or change it so that it's more, large muscle groups doing the work instead of like using weird dark. Back then, early Bellegarth was a lot of strange dark side mechanics that were really hard on your body, and so, I've always used a lot more simplistic mechanics versus, I'd rather win less and be able to fight longer than win more and possibly injure myself.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. What have you noticed any differences since cresting 40 that it's like I can't do that anymore, or that is different for me, or anything, or some of the positive things that Glen mentioned?
Yeah, for me, a year and a half ago, I had back surgery. That was like the big change. Had nothing to do with fighting. Had to do with just, for whatever reason, my disc chose violence that day, and decided to sit on my sciatic nerve, and put me in screaming pain all the time. So, after that, I'm much more focused on like injury prevention and making sure, like once you've had like that kind of pain, anyone who's had like a severe thing like that and then had surgery and had it go away, that's super lucky. And so for me, fighting is more of a recreation now than a lifestyle.
Okay.
For sure after that. But even then, like I can still do everything I used to do. It's just a matter of, I look at it as like the 3-month window before the event. What did I do the 3 months before the event? That's the window that matters for me. It's like, did I go to the gym a lot? Did I do a lot of cardio? Did I do my lifts? Did I do my stretching? Did I do all the things that I'm supposed to be doing to take care of myself? Well, if I did, I'm going to fight really, really well. If I didn't, well, then I have no business thinking that I'm going to fight well, because I didn't take care of myself. I didn't do the things I'm supposed to do to get the result I was looking for.
Makes sense.
It's so after 40, I don't notice. The one thing I do notice is recovery time. After 40. It has taken longer to recover from like basic, I can remember when I would work out in my younger days, and I feel like it takes longer for me to deal with that muscle soreness, deal with that the recovery time. But now I have, get yourself a hot tub and a massage chair, and life is good.
Let's go.
Yeah, ibuprofen, hot tub, and massage chair. You can do anything.
I'm going to take a quick moment to thank Ice for subscribing at Tier 1. I also want to thank Only Mr. Pink for following the show. Thanks, both of you, for for supporting the bench. I'm also going to take this moment before I kind of jump in with what myself and Horus have to say. I want to take some of these questions because they're building up a little bit, and so I want to make sure to attack these. The first question comes from the Pink Raven. I do have a question. This isn't only limited to age, but does apply. How do you handle physical injuries that don't really heal properly or go away? Now, important caveat, we are not doctors here. Glen might be a doctor, but we're not medical doctors here. And so, take our advice with a grain of salt. Your physician is the person that you should get these answers from primarily. We're just here to offer advice. Take it or leave it. It may not be correct. Glen, what's your take on that? How do you handle physical injuries that don't really heal properly or go away?
Okay, so that's actually a great question. And the best answer to that is talk to your doctor, right? And specifically, though, the talk is the key word there, right? Because a lot of people go to the doctor, and doctors tend to treat people at the lowest common denominator, right? They often assume that everybody is a lazy couch potato who is not going to do physical therapy, just wants a pill to make it better. And so they will treat you by default that way 99% of the time, right? And if you're a woman, 99.9% of the time, you will get that response, right? So what you need to do when you get an injury, especially something that's going on, like right now I've got an elbow problem. I can straighten my elbow to 135-ish to 145 degrees instead of 180. Well, I can never do 180, 170. And so I'm doing rehab, right? And so what you need to do is you need to talk to your doctor and say, hey, I've got this injury. I'm an athlete. I need to perform at an elite level. And you may be like, well, I'm just playing a LARP. I don't want to say that. But if you say, oh, I just do this fun LARP thing, they're going to be like, okay, so it's not important to you. It's not serious, right? You want to be treated like an athlete. And so you want to go to your doctor. And when they say, oh, it's your elbow, it's, it's got a muscle adhesion, and now you're not going to be able to straighten it ever again, right? If the doctor says that, go get another opinion. Right? What you want to do is you want them to say, you can do physical therapy. And then you say, okay, what's physical therapy going to do? What's wrong with me specifically? Explain it so I understand it. Because a thing to keep in mind is you are going to have to pay at least a copay to go see the doctor. But there's not a time limit. If you're in the doctor and the doctor talks to you for 2 minutes, or the doctor talks to you for 45 minutes, you pay the same amount, right? And once you get past the doctors, being rushed and I have to go to the next patient, I have found that once I get them talking, they're kind of excited to talk about this stuff. I've had doctors literally spend 45 minutes explaining in detail all the body mechanics and the physiology and everything else that's wrong about an injury I have. Right? You may not want to go that deep, but make sure you understand everything about it that you can think of. And sometimes that means doing some research in advance. Talk to some of your friends who don't treat this as medical advice because they're not doctors, and more important, they're usually not orthopedic surgeons, right? But use that as a talking point or a starting point. So you go talk to the doctor, you have some idea of what he's going to say, and you have some grounding in that. So you're not learning it all from scratch. And after that, physical therapy, physical therapy, physical therapy. That's critical. I've wrecked my back. I had a bulging disc so bad that even I could diagnose it from the MRI. I've had knee injuries. I've had elbow injuries. I've had a number of pretty severe injuries, and I haven't had to have surgery yet. So far, I've been able to do PT, sometimes months and months of physical therapy. And you have to be religious about it, right? You know, I've got physical therapy. I'll do it once a month, or I'll do it a couple times, and then it hurts, so I stop. Right? I've had some that was like worse than being, because I've been stabbed too. Worse than being stabbed was the physical therapy. This short little physical therapist I had. She must have been 5 feet tall and 80 pounds, and that woman hurt me so much. But look, I can use this arm completely well, right? My left arm is fine. So my right arm I'm working on. But that's the thing, and that's not an age thing. If you are 18, you got to do that. If you are 40, you got to do that. A lot of people think, oh, I just got this bad injury because I'm getting old. It's because you just got a bad injury. But the longer you're alive, the more chances you have to get hurt. So by the time you're 40, 50, 60, you will probably accumulate a major injury. It's not because you're old. It's because you just kept buying lottery tickets, and eventually you won.
Mm-hmm.
A thing that does help is getting social support, right, for serious injuries, right? The worst injury you can really get is an ACL tear, which really means, especially women, start strengthening those knee stabilizers. But social support is a huge predictor of recovery. In fact, here we can have our first citation in the chat. Here is an article that came out several years ago, actually. I think it's 2001. But this is a study talks about social predictors of recovery in middle-aged and older persons. And one thing to note, when they talk about old people and studies are like, oh, how does this change when you get old? Old people is like 65 up, or in a lot of studies, it's 80 up. If you're 40, you are not old as far as the medical community is concerned. Mm-hmm. You may feel old, like, I'm old, blah, 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 but you're not, right? So that's my answer. That was my very long answer.
That's a good
long answer.
Bo, what's your take on that question?
I have some like firsthand experience with this recently with my back surgery. Mm-hmm. I took my rehab after my surgery extremely seriously, to the point that I would not bend for anything. I would move my feet and move my core. My pelvis and my sternum never changed planes. They were always in sync, because I knew that any injury could reset the surgery and put me right back into the pain cave. And so for me, it's just literally doing exactly what the rehab is. Making sure that you're drinking enough water, that you're taking in nutrition. Fruity Pebbles ain't gonna get it, kids. And doing things to strengthen yourself. Those are the big, like, once you have an injury, you only have a few options to like recover. You can either do surgery, which might fix it, possibly. You can, do your PT, which might fix it, possibly. And then, so you really do got to work with your physician on that. And then, like Glen was saying, you have to do it. You have to live it. Like, it has to be a part of you. Like, as you go through life, you're going to start to develop like a routine before you fight, that you do certain things because you've had a tendonitis issue in here or there or whatever. And these are the stretches that help that. So you do them before you fight and after you fight. And it just becomes like hopefully if you're generally healthy, you can, cut that down to maybe a 15-minute routine that you do every time. And then the other things I do, obviously we got the hot tub. Massage therapy is a big one for me. I have a person here who does a hot bamboo massage. It's like a bamboo log like this long, and then they just crush you with it. Like it's the most excruciatingly painful thing ever. But it works so good. Like, I walk like I'm 20 again afterwards. Like, I can just like reach over and grab my big toe. Like, not a big deal afterwards. It's really wild. And then just staying with it, being consistent with it. Like, even at 48, I can still sit on my ankles. Like, I can get my ass to the ground.
Oh yeah.
Like, no problem. And so knees wide, all that jazz. And it's because I continue to work that. Like, at work, so work-wise, I'm a crane operator, so I sit a lot. I sit 3,000 hours a year, basically. And so, but I am that goofball that's standing up on the crane in the middle of a blizzard doing my lunges and doing my squats and sitting on my ankles on top of the crane deck and like all the things I need to do to be able to continue to move. So it's just you got to have that mindset of like as you progress, you are going to the injuries don't necessarily go away and your prep for them needs to continue. You have to be consistent.
Horace, anything to add?
Please do what Glenn said and go to the doctor and ask them questions. Be serious. Don't just like, they will treat you exactly like you said. They'll just try to get you to go away because that's what most people want. They want a pill and they just want to be done. This stuff doesn't go, like, you are going to get hurt. It's not necessarily going to be serious, but if it is, you have to take care of it. If you ignore it, it will not get better. People do not become crippled in their 30s by like tearing their hamstring or something. Like, you don't just suddenly go, oh, the rest of my life I can't fight anymore because I tore my hamstring once. Like, that's, you can go to the doctor, you can do your PT, you can do your stuff. Like, you don't just suddenly turn 30 or 40 and then you can't do physical activity anymore because you're old. That's not how it works. Your body adapts to what you do. Just as you get older, now the years of inactivity and not doing stuff will add up, and you will be adapting to your non-active lifestyle. And if you go do sword fighting and you're super active and you're running around and stuff and you haven't been doing that the whole rest of your life and you don't support that in any other way, it's not going to get better. It's, when you're young, you have already been doing lots of stuff where you have to walk around and whatnot. Then you get in your 20s, maybe you get an office job, you're going to be sitting around all the time. You have to do something else outside of that to keep up your physical activity levels. So if you want to be a good sword fighter, you want to be physically fit to do this as you go on, and just for your life. I mean, you probably want to go do stuff in your life. You probably want to be able to walk. There's people who might never run, like go like sprint somewhere after the age of 30 because they just like stopped doing they stopped running anywhere and then they just never do it again. You put on a bunch of weight or whatever. Like, that doesn't have to be that way. I had a professor in college. He was 72 years old when we went to Cyprus with him. He ran 3 miles every morning. He fell down one of the pyramids. He was completely fine. And I have relatives that they're 65. If they fell, they would break bones and be in the hospital and their life would basically be over. It doesn't have to be that way. Please go, like, take care of yourself. It is a lot of work, but it's also your whole life, and it's totally worth it. And if you're watching this, you probably like sword fighting, and you'd be way better at sword fighting if you do it.
One thing about that exercise thing, so the astronauts, when they're in space, they lose bone density like crazy. It's like a major problem, right? It's one of the major obstacles with space travel and all these kinds of things. And one of the things they do to preserve their bone density is they literally like bungee them onto a treadmill and make them run and make them exercise, and it increases bone density. And so if you want to reduce injuries, exercise is always gonna, and the other thing with that too is the exercise, so if you're exhausted, like if you're dog, like your tongue's hanging out, you're breathing heavy, you can't, are you going to take that step, or are you just going to lean funny? You know what I mean? Whereas if you were fresh, you would take the extra step or move that extra to keep yourself in a positive body position and keep yourself in a good spot. You might just, like, if you're exhausted, you might get lazy and you're going to lean or reach, or, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to work in a way that's way inefficient because you're tired. You're not able to get your whole self to that spot to make good movements. And so that's going to increase your risk for injuries, just being tired and being out of shape, just from that aspect of it. Not even the fact that you're stronger or weaker, just from a simple fact of I took the time and I have the energy to move my whole self into that position to not put myself in a compromised position.
100% true. On my end, so I have very, very minor, but I have heart disease. There's a little bit of an impact, to my fighting because of it. I have high blood pressure. There's an impact to my fighting because of it, because I'm on blood pressure meds, and man, those things slow you down. I also have Crohn's disease, and there's a definite impact on that. My Crohn's disease is treated. It's relatively minor. I do have flare-ups, and it impacts my nutrition intake. It impacts everything. It impacts my mood, my mental health. It impacts my strength. The day I earned my Warlord, I was having a flare-up, and I was having like a full body flare-up. It was awful, and I was throwing up on the side of the field. And then when I'd finish throwing up, they'd call my name. I'd go and I'd fight around and I'd win, and then I'd go throw up some more. These are all and these are all things that definitely do impact you. And what I've learned to do is, like, for one, all these things, I have to compensate for them. I have to compensate for them, and I have to treat myself, as we're talking about. I keep my Crohn's disease in remission religiously. I do everything I can. I stay on top of my meds. I eat the right foods. I really try to avoid alcohol as best I can. I really try to live my best life in terms of keeping that thing in remission, and I take zero chances when I have an event coming up, because if I flare up, I'm fucked. Like, I'm just not going to fight my best. I'm not going to want to fight. I'm not going to be in the headspace to fight, because your GI tract affects your mental health. So it's super important is just to make sure that you're, instead of saying, God, I wish my body was normal, I say, you know what, look at what I've achieved despite these things that I have going on. And I celebrate that. And I just say, I'm going to push myself as hard as I can within reason. That's the second thing. Understand your limits. Heart disease. So, like, I can't push myself to the point of, I dropped out of trying to achieve Blade Master because I looked at some of the things going on and I was like, I could die if I do that. So I'm not gonna, I don't know that I would be able to pass multiple trials and push myself that hard. I just don't feel safe doing it. So know your limits, understand what they are, and keep yourself alive. Lastly, what did you say? I'm an athlete that performs at an elite level. I heard that from SKBC a few years ago, and that's exactly what I said to my doctor. And the way that he talked to me completely changed. All of a sudden we started coming up with plans. All of a sudden we started looking at different ways of treating the things I have. So just make sure to say that. I went to PT for my elbows, and I bought the things that they made me do PT with, and now I just continue to do them all the time. Take your health in your own hands. I have another question for us. I want to be brief because we're definitely flying through the time, and we've only gotten to agenda item 1 and we haven't even finished it. How do y'all manage the LARP light? Well, okay, hold on, wait. Somebody said none of these dudes look like they are over 40. 44, 48, 53?
52.
52?
But I do benefit from hypoflexibility, so that makes me look a lot younger.
Fair enough. And 35?
I'm 35.
35?
Yeah. I'm not actually over 40.
Not actually over 40, but you got your co-host spot. The three of us, definitely over 40. Trepido Possum asks, how do y'all manage the LARP life balance now versus when you started? Let's be as brief as possible, if you don't mind. Glenn, take it away.
For me, actually, it's pretty straightforward because I'm a grad student. So I have a lot of flexibility in my time. And after I'm done being a grad student, I'll be a professor. So I will still have a lot of flexibility in my time. I married a woman who also LARPs, and that's how I manage my balance. So that's it.
Bo, how do you manage your LARP life balance?
I just don't. I mean, like, I hate to say it, but
Just
LARP.
don't.
I just don't. Like, I don't LARP as much as I would like to. Like, that's I work, I take care of my family, and then the 3-4 times a year that I can go LARP, I go play toys. But it's I just don't manage it, unfortunately.
Horus, how do you manage it?
Just go fight. I mean, actually, for a while, I really couldn't do as much because I was like had other stuff going on. But I think that it's almost like a specific to you question. Like, you got to prioritize what you want to prioritize in life, and if you want to do this, you got to spend a lot of time doing it. And if that's not something that's available to you, then you need to work towards a life where, in the situation that will afford you more flexibility with your time. If you can't practice on the days that there's practice, then it's probably your job. probably got to do something else. If you got kids and stuff, like you got to prioritize that. You either got to, if there's only one practice a week, you can't tell me that you can't, the 6 other days a week unless there's some scheduling conflict that you can't be, putting in double time on all those days to make sure you got your 1 day a week that you're doing something. So, you know, biggest thing is like keep your house in order. It's going to be a lot easier to go LARP all the time if your life's not falling apart.
I manage mine by communicating very effectively with my loved ones and family. I let them know, I am very clear. And also, like, if I'm dating somebody, I'm very clear, like, hey, Sundays for the boys, like, I go out there and I throw foam on Sundays. I practice a couple times a week. I run a stream on Thursday. These are things that are sacred to me, and I'm not coming to so-and-so's birthday on a Sunday. This is what I do. I let people know, like, hey, I'm going to this event. I communicate it in advance. I put it on my calendar. Everybody knows. Sometimes people get a little pissy about it, but once they've known me for a while, they're like, that's what Charlie does. So, okay. You just have to set those boundaries, and you have to stick to them. The second thing I do is I have a son. I'm a dad. And I have my son every other weekend, and I try to involve him. He hates sword fighting, absolutely hates it. But what he does like is spending time with me. So I try to go to, like, I'll take him to one-day events all the time. And we get to have our special, dad and son time while we're going to the event during the car. And I make those drives all about him. And I make sure to get dinner with him afterwards. And then while I'm fighting, he just kind of hangs out. He watches. Maybe he'll film a little bit. But I try to make sure to involve him and find something special for him so that I'm able to have my fighting time and travel to events, but also, I'm spending time with my son as well. So, you just find those like little creative ways to manage things. I do have another question in there, but we're gonna pause it for now and continue with what's it like to fight over 40. Horus, what's it like to fight at 35?
It's good. It's not really any different than fighting at 18 or whatever. I mean, I would say that after 30, like, start to really feel it when you don't sleep. Mm-hmm. And like, if I could give any advice to anyone, is like, please actually sleep. You cannot just not sleep. You will not recover. It will build up over time. You will injure yourself. Like, your training load can only increase, and your amount of sword fighting can only increase if you are actually recovering. And if you're not recovering, then you're not getting stronger, and you're not increasing your ability to handle a higher training load. So you're not going to have a good time at 35, 40, at 50, whatever, if you're not doing any fighting or doing bare minimum fighting, and then you go to a 3-day event and you fight 14 hours a day. Like, it will be horrible. Mm-hmm. Last Oktoberfest, I had only been back on the train for basically like 6 months, and I torched myself. I thought I had like destroyed my shoulders. This Oktoberfest, I fought more than last Oktoberfest. I had like a day or two where I like took a rest day afterwards. 3-4 days later, I was back to lifting and running and doing all the things I normally do, because I was way more prepared. I was able to handle that load that I put on myself. Mm-hmm. But that's like the big difference, is that I feel like beforehand, because you have that build up over your life, you're probably a lot more active. It's really easy. You don't feel like you have to put any effort in. As you get older, you have to like actually put effort into doing the stuff that you do.
Mm-hmm. That's really my answer as well. Is key for, like, I'm fighting the best I have fought in my entire life. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my entire life. Things that I found difficult to do my whole life are now easy. Things that I found cumbersome to do my whole life are now fun, because I have a body that works, and it's fun to experience physical things with a working body. And a lot of that was just because of being sedentary and not taking care of myself. And I think that's one of the biggest changes that I've noticed, at least, is that you can do everything that you could have done earlier. You just don't have as much like margin for error that you used to have, you know. And I remember being a teenager or in my early 20s, because that's when it was legal. I'd get super drunk and I'd pass out in a camp chair and get rained on or something, and then I'd wake up and I'd be like, "Where's the ditch?" You know. And you just can't do that, or you can't do that more than one day in a row. And I just wouldn't do that. I definitely need, if I just really wear myself out in terms of fighting, I need a little bit more recovery time. I'm useless for a week instead of a day. But that's okay. The trade-offs in lifestyle, having a career that allows you to take time off, that's something that usually comes when you get a little older. That's a huge change. Having the income to afford good food and have proper nutrition, hydration, take time for yourself to do important things. That's another way that being older has really helped. When I was younger, I got fast food all the time because that's what I could afford, and I didn't really have a knowledge base about what nutrition was, So most of the benefits, I'd say, are super positive, and I imagine having all of the advantages that I have now as an older person, having those when I was younger. Sure, I would have been a god among men for sure, but that's kind of the trade-off about getting older, is that you accumulate this wisdom and these privileges, and you've built up this skill set in your life, and in exchange for it, maybe you get tired a little easier, but that's okay. Moving on to our next agenda item, which we touched on, I think, a little bit. What limitations do I have? Glenn, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So limitations. Well, actually, what are we focusing on limitations? We talked about the agenda item, and now I've forgotten. Like, what are you talking about limitations?
Just in terms of any physical limitations, any mental limitations, anything like that.
So physical limitations, probably the biggest thing for me is just accumulating injuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I'm old, just I've had more time to get hurt, right? And what becomes important then is making sure I finish my PT, right, before I get my next injury, because that way I only have one injury at a time, right? Mm-hmm. And that really actually reflects, because when I was younger, I remember sometimes having 2 injuries at a time, because I was 18 and stupid, right? And I can't let the team down, right? Mm-hmm. So I would get an injury, and then I would keep playing and practicing and get another injury. And now I've gotten a little smarter, and this is much more recent thing, because even when I got my Warlord, I had multiple injuries. But now I try and rehab one injury before I start. If I get badly hurt enough, I will stop fighting until I can rehab my injury point where the doctor's like, yeah, you're not going to hurt yourself further by doing any activities. Right? Mm-hmm. I really wrecked my ankle about 2 years ago, and the doctor was like, oh, you shouldn't do anything. Like, you can walk on it with a brace, after like a week. But then you've got to go through all this rehab and do all this stuff. And I waited until the doctor said, yes, you can now fight on it, right? Which means sudden movements, rotational motions, all of those things, before I went back out and fought, right? And that's really a benefit of being older and smarter, because when I was 26, when I just started, I would have gone and fought in that ankle, right? Mm-hmm. And I would have screwed it up further, and they'd be like, oh, getting old, can't keep fighting. No, I'm just dumb. That part may not have changed. Might still be dumb. So that's part of it. As far as psychologically, actually, I think it's easier to get older, because I'm a lot more comfortable with myself, a lot more mature, I'm wiser, right? I've got context for things. Think about when you were dating and you were 16 or 18, whenever you were, you first started dating people, 14. I don't know what age people start dating now. But your first time you broke up, you're like, oh God, if we broke up, it was terrible. It's this huge disaster, right? But as you get older, you've got more context, more experience. It's not as big of a deal. And that's definitely something that's come through in my fighting, right? If I don't win a tournament, I'm like, that really sucks. Oh well, right? Let's go out for dinner, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas when I was younger, everything was much more important, everything more serious. So the mental game is a lot easier as I get older, because I have more experience fighting, more experience losing as well as winning. Also, just more things going on in my life, so it becomes a little bit less important, and so therefore a little bit less critical. So I would say those are kind of the change. I don't really have limits. Yeah, no limits.
Okay. Bo, any limitations imposed on you by age or time?
Again, I fall back on what did I do before the event?
Mm-hmm.
Like what happened the 3 months before? Because those are my limitations stronger than my age. It really is. Like, if I took care of myself, did the things, made sure that I was in good fitness, and things were happening good for me, and my body's moving well, I'm gonna do really well as far as that. But then the converse of that is, if I didn't do those things, then yes, I am limited, and I need to acknowledge those limitations and not try to fool myself into thinking, no, I totally wrecked the gym, and I tore it up for the last 3 months, when I did not. You have to be honest with yourself, because if you don't, if you're not, and you think that, oh, I'm gonna go fight like I'm well, for me, like I was 30 again, um, it would be a mistake, and I would probably get badly injured, or it certainly be very sore and very uncomfortable about things. And so, making sure that you know where you're at, and don't try to exceed your preparation. Like, don't you can't outkick your coverage. It's kind of like a sports phrase of sorts.
Mhm.
And so you can't outfight your preparation. If you're not prepared and you're not fit at that level, then you shouldn't try and fight at that level, because that's where the injury and the problems are going to arise. And if you want to fight for a long time, you have to try to avoid injury. And when you are injured, you can minimize that injury. Every one of us, I'm sure, has fought with something like, oh man, my knee's sore today, or my ankle's sore today. And then later that day, you eat shit, and all of a sudden, like, your ankle is wrecked now. And it takes so much longer for that to recovery. What could have been, if I avoided fighting for 2 weeks, it would be fine, is now like a 6-month ordeal of, oh my God, this is going to be like major rehab, major thing. If you just acknowledge the fact that, like, hey, it's stiff today, I should probably take it easy. I'll do some light sparring on the side where I don't have to, run the field and things like that. Like, just step it back a notch, let that injury recover, and then you can go ahead and proceed. But, if you push it, well, then it's, bad things can happen, and you can increase your recovery time, increase the severity of the injuries, rather than doing the opposite.
Salty Spittoon asks, "What the fuck? Y'all's knees aren't sore every day?"
Nah. Mm-mm.
My right knee gets sore sometimes when I fight, but ever since I started stretching in the morning, like Horus told me to do, no, I
had a torn meniscus when I was 18 and in high school playing football, and I delayed that until the running back from Minnesota has his knees done, and he made a full recovery, and then I decided that they could probably cut me open and get it fixed. And so I literally had a torn meniscus for like 14 years. Adrian Peterson was his name. He had a triple threat. He had the ACL, PCL, MCL, or whatever the hell it was. And as soon as I saw him recover and come back to like full speed again, I was like, okay, they have that surgery. Like, they know what they're doing with the knee. I can let them cut me open and fix it. And so, I was about 30 or so when that happened. And I mean, I've never, and even then it would just hurt. Like, it wasn't going to get better or worse. It just hurt. It's just a meniscus. I mean, it just caused pain.
King Dumbass says posting is lame, and Glen's reply was crippling yourself is lame. I'd rather be posting than not able to walk, man. Just post.
Yeah,
It's worth it.
I don't fight on my knees at all. Like, I do SCA, and they don't have posting. So if you hit me in the leg in SCA, I just take a death. I'm like, oh, you killed me. I'm like, I hit you in the leg. I'm like, close enough. I'm dead. Because it's just like, the research is really solid, even with knee pads, right? They looked at, and I don't have a citation to drop in chat for this because I didn't think that this would come up. But they looked at research of like roofers, and roofers use these giant thick knee pads. They're not jumping down on them like people are at Beauregaurd or Amtgard, right? Running around. They are sitting gently on their knees, right? And it was like 2 or 3 times the rate of arthritis in their knees as people not in that population. Like,
and they have an incline for the roof, so they're actually not like on flat ground. They have an advantage of, like, they're not kneeling as much as us because they're on a roof incline.
Yeah. Doing anything on your
flooring guys is another one too. Flooring guys, they're just wrecked. You watch them; they walk. It's just horrifying to watch them maneuver. You're just like, oh my God, buddy, please stop. And it's all that time on your knees.
Just don't.
Horus, any limitations since being in your mid-30s?
No.
That's fair.
Not really. I mean, your limitations as you get older are not going to come from your physical ability, like it's gonna come from your time commitments and your responsibilities. Like that's gonna be the hard thing to deal with, not because that's also gonna reduce the amount of training that you can do,
Mhm.
just gonna reduce the amount of physical stuff you can do. I don't do certain things not because I'm old, but because I've hurt myself before and
Yeah.
I don't want to keep hurting myself. Like going down on my knees, I just post.
Mhm.
Also, like, I mean, come on, a lot of people can't kill you even if you're posting, so like, just stunt on them. You know, you can still make it fun.
I, you know, I don't necessarily know that I have any age-related limitations. I think a lot of them are condition or, you know, um, chronic issue limitations. But I definitely feel like I can't push myself as hard as I used to, and that's really because I used to push myself exceptionally hard. I would just fight all day and all night, and to the point where I really should have stopped and I didn't. I just can't do that anymore. I get to a point where like my body just completely taps out, and that's probably a good thing, but I just don't have that ability. I also don't have the ability anymore to get super super rough and tumble, and put myself in a lot of really dangerous grappling situations, and that's more of a mental block for me because I've been injured a lot, and so I don't want to do that again. And so that youthful mentality of like fuck it, we ball, and just running straight into it, I'm not going to do that. I'm also extremely heat sensitive now. I don't know where that came from. It just kind of happened, but so now I struggle to fight during the day when it's hot.
The heat sensitivity might be because you got heat stroke at some point. Because a lot of
I
people
was
get
just
heat
gonna say
stroke,
that.
you
I
know,
did.
Yeah. It multiplies each
Yeah.
time you mess yourself up with that. The next reaction is more negative. Same thing with allergies too. If you keep
Yep.
exposing yourself to the allergen, your future reactions will be stronger each time you expose yourself.
Oh
So
fuck.
it builds. Yeah. So you want to like highly avoid
Yep.
things that trigger you.
I've been to the hospital twice for heat stroke.
Outside.
That's where it came from.
What's that?
I've been to the hospital twice for heat stroke, so that's where it came from, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah,
Figured
you
it
should
out.
look
That's
into
why.
a metal felt cooling vest. They're pretty effective.
That's probably true.
My allergies are from being outside, so I don't know if that's gonna happen.
What
You should stay inside.
what
I
long
don't know.
term? Well, let's see. I'm going to take a question real quick. It's not telling me who asked this, but somebody asked, do you adjust your style to fit your age, or are there some shots that you don't do because they're better left to someone with a young body? I think we all have the same answer for this, but Glenn, you can say it first.
Yeah. So my answer is I haven't changed much of anything. The only real change in my fighting style from when I was younger is some stuff I used to do that is bad for me. I have learned not to do. Right. The most common thing I see people do is they throw a wrap shot, and when they get to the end of the shot, before their hand finishes the motion, they bring their shoulder back to whip the shot, right? Because it lands harder and it's faster. The problem is when you do that, you whip that shot, it loads your forearm, right, with more load than your forearm is designed to handle, and it can really help give you that lateral epicondylis, right, the tennis elbow. So that's those are the things that I've changed. I've always been slow, and I've just kind of leaned into that a little bit older. I never try and out time people. I have gotten a little slower, and so I have definitely made my fighting style focus more on that. Also in Amp Guard, I still use Beauregaurd weighted swords. My swords are all around 12 ounces because that's just how a durable sword that I make ends up weighing. So I don't try and play the speed game. I just try and be better, I guess is the way to do that.
Bo, have a different answer to that, or same? Where you at with it?
For me, I don't get to the practice field as often. Like I said, I have no balance with this LARP life, and so for me, I just try to resort to like simplifying things for my brain more than anything. Just because like fighting in the Bell life has gotten faster in general because the swords have gotten a little lighter. There's more handle weight, less tip weight. Things are happening at a quicker pace. The offensive have gotten more advanced, and so for me, I'm trying to simplify things because I'm not practiced and I'm not in tune or in In the pool world, they would call it in stroke, where you just go do. You don't have to think, you just do. And that's like that no mind mentality. I'm sure, I know you 3 other gentlemen have definitely gotten to that stage where you can just turn off your brain. You're not thinking anymore. You're just like, oh, just hit them. Like, why? And it's like, no, because hitting them is a really advanced, like very thought out process. You're doing many different things at once. You're moving your feet, your body, your core. You're feinting. You're giving an eye feint. You're actually looking at something when you're going to hit them somewhere else. All those things happen, but because you have no mind, it's just reactionary. It looks so much faster because you've turned off the cognitive load and you're just doing, flow state. That's another word for it. Yeah. And so, for me, I'm trying to simplify things so I can get into a flow state that I can go faster and make the reads I need to make to try and get in there.
Horus, how would you answer? Do you change based on account of age or injury? Do you change anything you do?
If you're doing something and it leads to injury, you should not do it.
Should not do it. That's the answer.
I do that thing though Glen was talking about, whipping it, and then I'd get tennis elbow, and then I stopped doing that, and I maybe stopped throwing wraps for a little while, and then like my elbow feels fine, and then I throw wraps without whipping my arm, and then all of a sudden I can throw wraps again, and I'm not giving myself tennis elbow. So like, if you're doing something and it's leading you to be injured, stop doing it. Like. That's just not worth it.
If it hurts, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's just simple. Write that down. Tattoo it on my arm. If it hurts, I'm not doing it.
And anytime somebody's like, "No, I'm just gonna keep doing this because this is my shot," in my head, I'm just thinking, "Wow, this person just really wants to be a 2-year sword fighter. They want a 2-year career because this is their thing, and like they won't give it up. They won't learn something else. Like they're just gonna be that stubborn about it. Like, you can fight." Well past that, you can throw other shots, like just do other stuff.
I used to throw this shot when I'd fight Florentine with my left hand. I'd throw this underhook on a righty. It would underhook like this and just hit the bottom of their arm. And it was so hard to block. It was so hard to anticipate, and it worked so well. But man, that is not a good motion to put any. It's a terrible thing to do.
So at Ockfest this year, Kodite was fighting, and he was telling, like the day before, he told me how he's like got terrible tendonitis in his elbows and his shoulder, and then I watched him on the ditch field throw like this crazy high torque dark side with like this wacko like range and everything, and I'm just watching it, and I'm watching it and I'm going, oh god, please stop, like it hurts me to even see that. Like I'm like, oh, and he's just doing it like 20 times in a row, and I'm like, I walk over, I'm like, dude, that's why, like that's why it hurts.
Kodite's listening. You paying attention? Don't do that anymore.
Yeah, just don't do that. Like, I know it's a winning shot. I understand it. But, like, you can't throw 20 of them in a row. That's not healthy.
Let's talk about long-term maintenance. Glen, what's your long-term maintenance as far as keeping your body where it needs to be?
So actually, let's throw up some slides. I've been forgetting about the slides I gave you. Go ahead and throw up the strength slide. This is from a study by Metner, which I will drop a link in the chat, so everybody that likes looking at the research can go look at the research. But this is about an age-related loss of strength, right? And if you look at the chart, you'll notice that there is a gradual decline, but it really doesn't really kick in until about 60. There's a study that came out this year by Pfeiffer and friends. And they said that the average peak performance in all events was 27.8 years for men and 28.3 years for women. So that's when you reach peak performance, right? Athletic performance decline matched a linear model for the 5 years following peak performance and for ages 35 to 60, but matched a quadratic model for ages after 60 to 90, right? And so what that really says is, yeah, your best year is going to be late 20s, right? And then you are going to slowly taper off. But it's going to be a gradual decline until you get to your 60s. Once you hit around 60, 70, that's when you're going to start seeing that tapering off. That's when you really will be able to say, if I was younger, I would have won that. Because, when you're 80, it's going to matter. Although, with that said, I fought a guy at SCA who just beat the tar out of me, and he was like 65 or 70. I have only lost to 2 people ever that badly, other than that one guy. It was very illuminating and a lot of fun. So the question then becomes like, how do you deal with that? And that is, I go to the gym pretty regularly, right? As you get older, it does get harder to maintain strength. And so that becomes important. There is also a change in the type of muscle fibers that you have. There are type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. And as you get older, I should have given you a chart, a graphic for this too. But you'll just have to trust me on this. But as you get older, you get an increase of type 1 and a decrease of type 2. Right? And what that means is you basically start transitioning from the low endurance, high intensity burst strength muscles to the slower endurance based muscles, right? So you can you have to work harder to keep explosive energy is what that comes down to, right? Because your strength will shift as you get older. Right? And again, I'm not talking about when you turn 30, right? When you turn 30, from an athletic perspective and a medical perspective, you're still young, right? I'm talking about when you hit 50, when you start getting into 60, that's when these things are really going to start becoming factors. But you want to start doing that now, because if you start doing it at 60, there is research that says, yes, even at 60, starting to do resistance training, getting fitness will have a good impact, but not as much as if you started when you were 18. So I go to the gym. I went to the gym today, and because it's the holidays, I spent 2 hours at the gym. I got a good workout. I did about 80 minutes of resistance training, then I did about 20 or 30 minutes of cardio, and then did some stretching. But that's a really important thing. That's one of the big things I do. I always mean to, but I've never got around to it. Also working on explosive energy and explosive speed. If you want to throw up, since we're throwing up slides, if you want to throw up the reflex slide. Here is your citation for this, because we should always cite our sources. So this is a slide that talks about the change in reflex speed, right? And there's a lot of ways to measure reflex. That's why there's multiple lines here. What we're looking at is we are looking at the fact that this is movement time, because when we look at reflexes, there is initiation of reaction, right? How quickly do I start moving? And then there's how quickly do I actually move once I'm there? And this study actually has both those things in it, but I didn't want to flood Tannis with 8 million charts, because even though someone said it's science time with Glen, I know a lot of people don't want to have science day with Glen. I'm going to force it on some of you, but I'll give you a little, I'll cut it down.
I'm here for it. I love it. I love the sources too, because that's like how you discern someone who's full of it versus someone who's like spouting like legitimately sourced knowledge. It's lovely.
Yes. Also, I don't want to claim it as my own, because one of the death sentences you can get in academia is plagiarizing someone's work, and they'll kill you that faster than anything else you can do. But if you look at this chart, you'll notice that up until the 50 years, it's reasonably level, right? There's actually a slight increase in performance, right? A decrease in the time to do the movement between 20 and 30, which actually matches anecdotally my experience. I feel like I got a little bit faster in my 30s. Mm-hmm. My 30s were some of my best athletic performance from a just like pure like I'm fast and super quick. Not as much skill, but
no. No! They're back. All right. Bringing everybody back. Here we go. Bringing you back.
Kenneth disappeared.
That means you guys disappeared.
Yes.
Almost done. We're almost done. Glenn's back. All right, let's go.
All right. So, don't worry, you lost me, so I'll just recap this quickly. If you look at the chart, you'll notice there is a slight dip in speed, so an improvement in performance around 30s, which anecdotally matches my experience. Mm-hmm. I definitely felt like I was getting faster when I was in my 30s. And then it does taper off a little bit, 40s, 50, but it's not really until you get to that 60 age bracket, 60s, 70s, 80s, where you start seeing that decrease in performance. Right? So again, if you're 40, you're not old, right? You may feel old, but really what you often are, and this is something Horus mentioned earlier that I wanted to lampshade, is he talked about the fact that you're not as active as you were. If you are 25, maybe you haven't been active recently, but it's only been a few years since you were a kid running around screaming and doing stuff, right? If you are 45, it may have been 20 years since you were physically active, like regularly physically active like kids are, right? And so you've lost some of that that fitness, right, over time. Just a quick note on the 3 lines, because they're not explained in this chart. There is a simple reaction time. In other words, we're talking about a simple stimulus. Someone says swing and you swing. There is a complex reaction time where someone says, like do the thing and you do a more complex movement. That's the red line, the CRT, complex reaction time. And then there's the inconsistent complex reaction time. And that is where someone says swing, but you're not supposed to swing, you're supposed to jump, right? In other words, you get a stimulus that tells you to do something, but you're not supposed to do what the stimulus actually tells you. You may have seen the reaction times where you're supposed to click red and there's a word that says red that's in red, but then the word says green and it's in red. It's the red color, but it says green. You're supposed to click green. It's that sort of complex stimulus.
Okay.
So anyway, that's enough of the science with Glen. So
we got slide 3.
But, that's true. Let's give them all the slides. So the third slide, I'll give you this slide. This is from Pfeiffer. There's also some really good research about Gantz, but I didn't. Like I said, I didn't flood Canvas with all this stuff. Well, here's the Gantz studies too, because you guys love studies. People love studies. That's what my wife tells me. She says, "I love it when you send me citations." But the Pfeiffer study, right? That's where they're talking about how people's performance tapers off, right? And if you look at this, it's a little bit hard to tell, but because these are scatter plots. But the performance in these various sports drops off gradually until people get in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. These two Gantz studies, they don't even bother looking at how people's athletic performance declines until they're 80. Right. The second paper is 80 to 94 years of age in athletes. Right. Because they're not looking at how does performance decline when you're 40? They're like a little bit, you're fine. It's not these serious drop-offs until we get to being much older, which I'm betting is nobody in the audience here. Right? And so what I'm getting to, and I've been kind of harping on this, but it's worth repeating, is that your age, whether you're 30, 40, or 50, has no necessary impact on your athletic performance, right? I mean, if you're going to go compete in the NHL, yes, you're probably going to retire at 38 or so. Right? Mm-hmm. Although, with that said, in the NHL, specifically because I played hockey, so I'm a big hockey person, right? Gordie Howe, famous hockey player, was an NHL All-Star when he was 52. Right? So even professional, the highest level of human performance, you could still be one of the best in the world in your 50s, right? So it's when you get old, and by old I mean you can retire and collect Social Security. That's when you can start saying, "Oh, I can't do this as well as I used to when I was younger." Right? That's when this age really kicks in. All right, that's enough science with Glenn. Sorry about that. People would hate that.
You're all good. Bo, let's talk about your long-term maintenance. What kind of things do you do?
Yeah, yoga is a huge factor. It really is. If you can get into a program of regular sessions, it will change how you move. Me and my wife, we make fun of each other all the time because we'll just randomly do stretches throughout the day, and we'll joke about that old school life and things. And so, but it makes a big difference, just releasing those hip flexors and things like that. And like I say, I do sit a lot, and so I have to be mindful of what effect that has on my body and counteracting that. One of the things, bone shapes was something when Glenn was talking, I made a note of it. Bone shapes, when you have bones, they're normally just straight, right? It's only throughout our life that they get the balls on the end of your femur. Okay. The reason that is because that's where the tendon tears and the bone grows back stronger. And that's what causes the heads of the bones to strengthen like that. And so doing weightlifting, doing strengthening, whatever form that takes for you, that's why that long-term growth happens, is because the continued process with that, you actually change the structure of your bones over time. Over the long term, you're going to have more bone density and more bone strength if you resistance train over the long, 20 years, decade long commitment to just getting in there and getting it done. It's going to have a long-term effect on your physiology and how you actually move your body and what happens.
Horus, what's your long-term body maintenance and stuff? What do you do?
So one thing I want to point out from Glenn's thing too is that's your decline from where you're at. So the more effort that you put in to build that, you're declining from wherever you get to. So if you can get to a certain amount of strength, that's where you're declining from. And if you don't do anything, you're going to be declining from a much lower spot on your possible like body functioning level. I lift, I run, and I walk a lot. I walked 2,000 miles this year. Just every morning I walk at least 3, 4, 5 miles. Just go walk. Like,
That's so much walking. Congrats.
yeah, it's like take an hour to walk. I walk my dog, then I bring him home. Walk my other dog. She can't walk as far, and then I walk with my brother. If my brother's not there, I walk by myself. Now I wear weights when I walk because it just makes it a little bit harder. And yeah, just go walk. If you can't do anything else, have an hour in your day, go walk. If you can, resistance train, go to a gym. It's not that expensive. If you don't have time to go to a gym, if you're getting older, you probably have some money. Get some of those weights that you can like turn the knobs on, and then they can go up to 50 pounds or whatever. You can do a ton of workouts. I mean, you can do
They make those
all
to
the
90
workouts
pounds.
you got to do. There you
They
go,
make those
90
to
pounds.
90 now. Yeah, I
There's
got them in the
nothing that
basement.
if you're starting to work out, there's nothing you're doing that's 90 pounds on both of them. Like,
No.
you can do your whole workout. That's what I did. I worked out with those for like a year before I bought a bunch of shit and put it in my garage. And now I do like a full body workout 3 times a week, or full body split 3 days of lifting a week. And I would lift more, but I also sword fight twice a week, and then I try to run. And there's only so much energy that I have. Like I can't. I have to recover. I have to sleep and stuff, and I have other stuff that I like doing. But I also try to run at least twice a week. If you don't want to run, that's fine. Do some sort of cardio besides walking, though. Walking is great. If you're not doing anything, start with walking. Don't just start running. But if you can run, like do some running. Start slow. Just go, until you're like huffing and puffing and you can't take it, and then start walking, and then huffing and puffing can't take it. Like you'll get there. It's faster than you think. And just, yeah, it's not that hard. You just build up over time and take it day by day, and you don't, unlike sword fighting where you want to go push yourself and you're gonna go really hard. When you're working out, you don't have to go crazy. You just have to push yourself a little bit harder every time. I ran my fastest 5K ever this week.
Oh yeah,
Congratulations.
So thanks.
So I'm not going to harp on it because we all just did, but I hit the gym. I think 5 days this week. And I go with friends if you can. Hitting the gym with people, especially an extrovert like myself, is a night and day difference. I go by myself. Sometimes I'm like, okay, fine. I go with my buddy, and we're sharing routines with each other. He's doing different things, and you want to do different motions. You don't want to do the same motion all the time. That really helps. But also, we're kind of being a little competitive with each other. And I'm getting to the point where I can kind of almost lift the same weight that he's pushing. And so, that competitive, that little bit of fun competitiveness keeps me working hard. And I've seen it in my physique in the last couple weeks because I've been going real hard. I'm like, I'm looking a little built right now, So like, finding a buddy to go with is super important. Eat food. Wake up in the morning, eat breakfast. The number of people that say, I had coffee for breakfast, like, bro, seriously, fuck you. Like, eat food in the morning. It's really important. And like, eat lunch, eat dinner. Outside of, somebody's doing some weird diets or something, like just having consistent nutrition throughout the day. Eat good food. I try to cook for myself twice a day. Chicken, vegetables, rice, eat good food. White Castles and McDonald's and stuff, that stuff is poison, and you're killing yourself by eating that stuff. So just put good food in your body. Take your vitamins. Take a multivitamin. Take, if you have a deficiency, because of my Crohn's, I'm deficient in iron, so I take iron every day. Make sure to stay on that. We'll get to some of the other bad habits, in the next thing, but I think just basically like take care of your body. It's the most important thing you can do. It's the only one you got.
I just want to throw something in there on your comment, Tanto. Like, it's important. Like, the diet's really important. They say you can't exercise your way out of a bad diet, and that's true. But that doesn't mean you have to be like, I only eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, right? Yeah. Like, I'm in pretty good shape. Like I said, I just won a tournament recently. I'm fighting very well. I ate half a box of cookies today.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because I had to go to the store because I ate another box of cookies yesterday. So I'm not like living this. Oh, I only eat vegetables, right? I'm eating junk food. I got a package of peanut M&Ms in the kitchen that I'm going to have after the show's over, right? But I also do eat well when I'm not eating garbage. Right?
That's the key.
It's not only well. It's just don't only eat garbage.
Yes.
Right? I have protein shakes. I use casein protein because I got it on sale, and then Amazon sent me a bunch for free because they sent me the wrong thing. But I have like nutritional stuff, and I do eat well. I eat chicken, and I like broccoli and rice. And I like chicken, so those are all things I like. But I still eat junk food, right? I still eat like a goblin sometimes. It's just I don't only eat like a goblin.
That's a really good point. I appreciate the correction. Like sure, I'll have a party night and I'll eat some junk food or something like that. Or if I do wing night with my son on Tuesdays and we have we go through like 12 wings or something like that for sure. But in moderation, I think is the key point. And like definitely did not moderate when I was younger, and like I have to be a little more strict about my diet now because I have to get back to a healthy body from not doing those things when I was younger. Preparing for an event. Glenn, how do you prepare for an event?
That's it's kind of a tough question. I do a couple things. Like I do try and make sure I get enough sleep. The benefits of sleep when you look at the research, and I'll have a link for this because I didn't think about putting a link to this, so I don't have it in my document here ready to go. But the benefits of sleep are ridiculous. It reads like one of those snake oil, ads that you get, right? Oh, try this pill. It'll cure your cancer and prevent dementia and improve your muscle gain and everything else. That's what sleep does. Right? So I try and make sure that I'm caught up in my sleep before events. I try and make sure I'm caught up sleep all the time. I don't have an alarm, right? Well, that's not true. I have an alarm. I've got a watch and a phone. But I don't have an alarm clock, right? And I don't set an alarm to get up in the morning. Right? Part of that is the benefit of being computer science because no computer scientist gets up early. It's against our cult. But what I try and do is I try and get to bed at a reasonable time so that I can just get my 8 hours of sleep every night and wake up at a reasonable time so I can still work. But getting enough sleep. So if somehow I've been shorting myself on sleep, I try and make sure I'm caught up on my sleep, not just the night before the event, but for several days, right? Because you can't just make up your sleep with one night. It's not how it works. I also try and eat, I don't say less junk because I try and eat junk food at least once a day because it's important for my soul. I'm also eating the nutrition I need. I make sure I'm going to have enough carbs in my diet a few days before that. I'm pretty rigorous about my protein because I work out and I'm trying to build muscle, but I try and make sure I've basically got the nutrition for an event and the sleep. I don't know about hydration because I drink a lot of water anyway because I actually like water. But that's really my prep for an event, other than just like the usual packing and getting ready. But as far as physically, that's what I do to prep for an event. I will make sure I don't do a hard workout the day before an event, especially if I'm changing my routine. I actually just added a heavy ab workout back into my routine this week, and Wednesday I was suffering. I was like, oh, all of this part of me hurts. Why does only my core hurt? No other part of me is sore. So I'll make sure I don't do that. And if I'm going to like an event where I'll be fighting pretty hard for a couple days, I'll probably do if I'm leaving, say, Friday's going to be the first of the event, Wednesday will be a light workout. Thursday I'll skip the workout. Wednesday and Thursday make sure I'm eating probably excess calories, especially on Thursday. And that's really my prep for the event.
Bo, what you do?
All right, so again, that 3-month window. So like, what have I done? What have I been doing? That's kind of like a standard. But like right before the event, like the week before, I'm gonna make sure that I'm hydrating a lot. That's a big part of it because all your joints are lubricated essentially by water. Like there's a lot of other stuff going on there, but like if you're short on water, your back is gonna be a problem. Your knees are gonna be a problem. Your elbows are going to be a problem. Like those joints specifically are very hydro critical or hydro. I don't know how to say that, but whatever. They're very critical for hydration. One of the things I'll do that I get into more now is making sure I'm taking in like a good salt packet or a good mineral package, like and so making sure I'm getting a lot of the the electrolyte boxes checked, getting a high quality electrolyte. Certainly, that needs to be done like all the time. But the week before the event, I'm going to be doubly sure that I'm getting that in there. Just because I want to make sure that I have my body has everything it needs so that I'm as healthy as I can be at the start of the event. Because over the course of the event, it's a downhill spiral, right? Like your first day, you're going to be good, and more so as you are older. First day you're going to be at this level. The next day you're going to be there, but you might be a tick down. And the third day, you just keep stepping down as you've kind of exasperated a lot of this energy. The other thing is eating healthier the week of makes a big difference as far as my energy and fuel level. You don't run your car out of gas. If you run your car out of gas, you don't move. Your body is the same thing. It needs energy in to put energy out. There's no way to cheat that. There's no way to sidetrack that. There's no magic pill. There's nothing you can do. If you take caffeine, all that does is interrupt the receptor for your body to tell you that you're tired. It doesn't actually give you energy. It's just like a painkiller. Painkillers don't stop the pain. They just interrupt the chain of events that make you think you're in pain. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of your electrolytes, take care of your fuel, and and then assess yourself. What injuries do I have currently? What just like you pack for the event, right? You're gonna throw your garb in there, you're gonna throw your clothes in there. Oh, I'm gonna throw I gotta make sure my cups in there. I'm gonna make sure my gloves are in there. I'm gonna, all that other stuff, gear, weapons, all that stuff. Um, you know, do that of yourself as well. Take the assessment of yourself of like, hey, this week I hurt my elbow this week at work or whatever it was, and so when I'm at the event, I'm gonna fight lefty instead. Because my right elbow hurts, and so I can hold a punch shield in it. It's not gonna hurt it. I'll be okay. But I'm gonna fight lefty this event, or whatever the injury case is, or like, oh, I hurt my ankle, so I'm only gonna post this event. I'm not gonna take any knees at all, which is a good idea anyway. But that's a separate ordeal. But yeah, just assess yourself and be, honest about where you're at. So, and for me, the electrolyte choice, I see somebody fired it up there. I do LMNT, Element it's called. I like it for an electrolyte. I think it's pretty good. It has no sugar in it, which is nice, and it's pretty well tested. And from the stuff I've read, it's got a good. They don't baloney their way through the mineral content. Like it's actually got good minerals in it, not crap.
Horus, what's your event preparation?
Go to sleep. Go to sleep on time every night. Because at events, I struggle to sleep. It's just sleeping in a tent. It's hard. I wake up. I have an alarm that is set, and it does not matter because I wake up at 5:30 in the morning every morning, no matter what. And sometimes I try to go back to sleep. But if I went to sleep at a normal time, I don't have to do that. And at events, it's not 5:30. I can sleep a little bit past, but it's when the sun rises, I am awake. So if I don't try to go to sleep in time, which at events is hard because there's lots of stuff going on, it's not going to happen. So I always make sure I get as much sleep as I can before events, period, so that I'm not in sleep debt while I'm giving myself sleep debt at events. One day, hopefully, I'll be able to actually sleep at events, but it hasn't happened yet.
Have you considered a hotel?
Yeah,
I put it up there.
I like
I
being
switched
on
over.
site. I really just want to get a camper, but then I'd have to have like tow it or something. Also,
You can do that.
you can rent an RV, and this year I didn't have enough time, but I'm gonna try that for Armageddon. I'm gonna
If you need a driver, let me know.
Yes, but some people just bring their RV to the site and set it up for you, and you just show up and use it like a hotel. And that to me is I can put down the blinds, go to sleep. That's all I need. It's just the light. The light in the tent wakes me up.
You should get a sleep mask.
Yeah, that would
They work
be a
really
good
well.
idea too. They every time, even if it's not tight on me, the pressure I don't know, but I have used them in the past and it helps. And then in my house I have blackout curtains. I just I don't wake up because I cover everything. But it still doesn't matter. I still wake up at 5:30 no matter what. I don't know why.
I do the same thing
That's
actually.
just like
I usually
the
wake
way
up.
that my
wake up
body
around
wants to be.
5:30. That's something that happens to me as well.
Yeah. So, and I'm just a morning person. I always have been. 9 o'clock, everybody laughs at me. I'm yawning at 6, and then at 9 o'clock, I'm like shutting down. And also, if you think you're an insomniac and you drink caffeine and it's not right when you wake up in the morning, try not drinking caffeine, because if you drink a whole pot of coffee every day, that's probably why you can't sleep. The half-life of caffeine is like 4 hours or whatever, but like it stays in your system for a long time, and if you drink it all day, you will have caffeine in your system and it will be disrupting your sleep even when it's not doing anything to make you feel awake. You feel tired, but you can't fall asleep because the caffeine is turning off or in the receptors that are supposed to be your adenosine, making you fall asleep. So don't drink a ton of caffeine. I always have to relearn this lesson. I love caffeine. Just once a day when you wake up, it'll be fine. I love coffee. But yeah, sleep a lot, and then I always eat healthy. I just like vegetables. I like normal food. It makes me feel bad to eat other stuff. I love candy and Oreos and everything, but also it makes me feel terrible after I eat them. So if I eat them and more than just a little bit, so I eat really good. One day I'll figure out how to bring normal food to events, and it'll be the best day ever, and all of you will rue it because I will be in tip-top shape the whole time, and I can't wait. But eat normal food. Yeah, it's so good.
So I echo everything literally everybody said here. Oral rehydration salts, not working out super hard right before an event, getting your sleep, getting your proper nutrition, not eating bad foods. Especially with me, that's a huge deal, because if I eat bad foods, I pay for it. It's a debt. And so staying out of GI debt is really important to me for an event. Sometimes I will do food prep, and I'll bring, I'll do like some chicken thighs, because it's, reheated chicken breasts taste like depression and sadness, but reheated chicken thighs taste really good. And so I'll do chicken thighs with some rice and some vegetables, and I'll just make a bunch of little containers of those and bring those to an event sometimes. That's if I'm really trying hard. I also try to I try to live my life in a mise en place strategy where I just like to have everything. I like to have everything settled, all my directions, all my times, everything is all managed, so I'm not having any anxiety, or I try to minimize my anxiety, because, anxiety is an absolute killer, man. That'll, anxiety will will do bad things to your body too. So taking steps that you can to minimize your anxiety, especially before an event, and just being in the right headspace to fight, that's super important too. We have
one thing I actually want to throw in real quick. It's not something I do for events, something I do at events. A lot of people drink water, and water sucks, right? The Waterboy movie with Adam Sandler lied to us, right? It's all about Gatorade, right? Because your body needs electrolytes, because that's how that's how your muscles contract, right? It brings electrons across the barrier, and electrolytes are the mechanism to do that. And if your body's running electrolytes, it actually reduces your ability for your muscles to contract and stuff. It also reduces your ability to absorb the hydration, absorb the water. So you definitely want to be drinking Gatorade at events. And like people are like, oh yes, and then you have to cut the Gatorade to 1/3. No, you don't. Gatorade was already designed for football players playing at an elite level to drink it at that mixture, right? That's why it's called Gatorade. It came out of the University of Florida, who are the University of Florida Gators. And so drink Gatorade. It'll have a huge impact on your ability to continue to perform. Right? And in fact,
you can leave the sugar in. Leave the sugar in the Gatorade.
Leave the sugar in.
Don't get the sugar-free Gatorade. You're fighting. You're running around like a lunatic, having fun. Like, leave the sugar in. You're going to be okay. You can go ahead and trim your sugar on your day-to-day. That's whatever you want to do. But at the fighting event, leave the sugar in. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're some kind of unless you have like a special diabetic diet, or for some reason sugar is very like a problem for you, like dietarily, that's a different issue. But generally speaking, normal average person, leave the sugar in. You'll be just fine. You're going to burn it off anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you do get to the point where you're old and you're 65, 70, the Wolf study does talk about using an amino acid based drink for your electrolytes instead of the glucose based drinks. So there you go. When you hit 65, 70, you can switch from Gatorade to an amino acid based beverage for your
Like a protein shake.
Yeah, a protein shake, or what else did they
BCAA
talk
kind
about?
of stuff.
Yeah, branched chain aminos. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was that sort of thing. I read this study several days ago, so now I don't remember what was in it.
Yeah, I found a triple flavor aminos. They have 3 different flavors. It's nice.
What would you tell your younger self, Glenn?
So the biggest thing I would tell myself, because when I was in college, we didn't have the fancy internet stuff to tell us all about nutrition and things like that. So I didn't know about protein shakes, and so I was pretty skinny. And a lot of people, I hear this from people who are skinny, and I said the same thing. Oh, I can eat all I want and I never gain weight. First, I would tell myself that that's not how physics works. And what I'd say is, what you're really doing is you are picking out eating an entire cake and washing it down with 4 liters of Mountain Dew. But then also on Saturday, you were so focused playing hockey and running around with your friends, you didn't eat all day because you easily forget to eat, right? And so on balance, you didn't get enough calories. You get enough calories to maintain your weight, and that's why you're so skinny and have such low body fat. It's not because you're magic, because there's no magic. I'm just naturally skinny. No, you just naturally forget to eat or otherwise have a proper caloric balance. It's all about calories in and calories out. So I would tell myself about nutrition. I would be like, here's what's called a protein shake. And it would be sad because protein shakes back then were god-awful bad. I still have nightmares about strawberry nitro tech. But I would tell myself about nutrition. I would tell myself about proper ways to lift. And then I would tell myself to go to the doctor when you get hurt and do your PT. And with those 3 things, I think I could have made it to the NHL. I think I'd be rich right now. And double retired. But yeah, that's really the things I would tell myself. Take care of yourself, and the nutrition to get fit is so important.
Bo, what would you do?
Oh, I mean,
Ah! We lost them again. I suppose I could go. Oh, no, they're back. All right, stand by. Stand by. Bo, I'm bringing you back. Stand by. Nobody say anything important.
important things are always being said.
Horus is coming back. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bo. What would you tell your younger self?
So that's the secret to becoming a warlord. Just do that.
Son
Yep.
of a bitch.
And
This is such great
I mean,
advice.
that and dedication will win you the world. No, so for me, things I would tell my younger self would be how I guess I would explain to myself the effect of how incremental changes day to day add up over a year,
Yeah.
over 2 years or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, once a week, I'm going to switch and eat this better beneficial meal for some reason, or things like that. Like, because I'm a very all or none person. I'm very guilty of that. I'm the type of person, if I go to the gym, I'm better now today. This is a different version of me. But when I was 30 or even 28 or 26, it was, if I don't go to the gym and just like crush my workout, and I mean like just everything I have. So when I leave out of there, I can't hardly walk. I feel like, I didn't have a good workout. And it's like, that's total farce. Like, that is all BS. Just go. Recently, my wife has let me know that you need to have a floor and you need to have a ceiling. When you go to you're going to go do your workout. That's a given. You have to do that. Like, that's a requirement for your own self-care. Have your floor. I'm going to go do 10 minutes on the treadmill or the bike or whatever machine, whatever that is. I'm going to do 2 rounds of circuit train. Just go get my pushes in and my pulls in and different, whatever that workout program is. That's my floor. Oh, I'm feeling good today. Okay, well, let's do some extra reps or extra sets or put some weight on for this muscle group. just because it feels good today and I feel like I'm going to do that. Okay. And then you're like, oh, you know what? Today's like a good deadlift day. I'm going to go get after it. Let's go stack up a bar and see what happens. Let's go feel how that works. And like, okay, that's your ceiling. Like, I'm going to do this, more. And so establishing that it doesn't really matter that I push myself to 100% every day. I can go in there and do 60%, get my 15 minutes on the treadmill. I can go get 3 sets of squats in. And if I'm tired after that and I've had a stressful day and I just don't feel like it, that's enough. Because at the end of the year, that effect will be light years ahead of just only working out when you feel good or when you feel like you're 100%. Because you're not going to do it. And you're going to go 2 weeks without going to the gym. You're going to go once, and then you're going to go another couple weeks without it. And then you're going to go again. And maybe you do 2-3 days that week. But over the course of the year, that consistency of just always getting there and showing up, even when you're not 100%, doing what you have to do, you'll be so far ahead of everybody that it won't matter. And part of this is coming from my work life as well, because I work in a construction field and I watch people put things in their way every day. And it's like, I don't have to work fast. If I just get my job done and put everything where it goes and do it step by step and don't rework anything, don't go backwards, don't have to pick things up 3 times, 4 times. I don't have to move things. I don't have to repair anything I've done. I could just do the job and work forward step by step. I'll be so far ahead of everybody else trying to go fast, they'll never catch me. And that's so true in the gym as well. If you just do your thing every day, you'll be ahead of everyone and they'll never catch you. And also you'll feel good because there's a really strong chemical release, endorphins and all that other good stuff, happy chemicals that just a lot of times you don't feel like going to the gym. You get there and I'll do 10 minutes and all of a sudden I've done a 45-minute like pretty good stint of things. I never thought I had that energy, and it just shows up on its own. So that's a big part of it, is just doing the increments, showing up and being consistent with it. Will you don't have to have before the workout, you don't have to have the thought process of like, oh, I'm gonna go in there and like, you don't have to do that. You just got to show up.
Horus, what would you tell your younger self?
First, that cheese grater is sharper than you think. And, then,
Horus, anything sharp around you is just terrifying.
Yeah, I have so many scars on my hands, you have no idea. And then it's very similar to what Bo said, but just be gentle with yourself. Like, you think, oh, I want to keep fighting right now, and you don't need to. If you hurt yourself or you go, ow, that feels weird. If you stop, maybe you're fighting again next practice. Maybe it was just a little thing, a little twinge, and you heal up just fine. If you keep fighting, you might be out for 2 months. Be gentle with yourself too, and don't think that you have to go super hard. You have to do it all right now. Like I told you what I do every day. I did not start doing that, and you won't start doing that if you think you're gonna run in the morning and you're gonna go lift at night and you're gonna do this thing. Like some days I do that, but that's not gonna work. You gotta, like, when you gotta push yourself to get out the door and go do the thing and make it a habit, make the change. If you like want something to happen, something in your life or your sword fighting isn't the way that you want, you have to change something that you're doing if you're not seeing that consistent improvement over time. So one, if you're not liking the trajectory of where things are going, something really has to change. Like make a change and just be gentle with yourself and do it. And two, it's over time that you see the results. If you want to lose weight, you're not going to lose 40 pounds tomorrow. You're not just going to get there. Like some days the scale, you might eat everything right. It feels like you ate nothing and the scale goes back up. Like that's just not how it works. You have to just do it every day. You have to kind of live in the moment and love the process and just like care about yourself. That's the other thing that I tell myself is like, you can't hate yourself into being the person that you want to be. It doesn't work. You'll never hate yourself enough to make yourself do things. You just have to actually decide that you like where you're at right now, and then if you want to be somewhere else because you desire something, like, start walking.
That kind of tracks with what I would tell my younger self. You know, you know, and this is no shame on any body types, but I was a much heavier kid when I was younger. I was 300 plus pounds, and you know, I was really down on myself about it, and it caused a lot of mental health issues for me, and it caused a lot of physical issues for me too. You know, so the first thing I tell myself is calories in, calories out. There's no way to outsmart physics. There's no way to outsmart your body. Calories in, calories out. That's how you do it. Second thing is that stop trying to chase happiness and finding it at a bar. You know, stop trying to chase happiness with various staying out late. You know, take care of yourself and happiness will find you. Stop trying to chase girls that aren't interested. Work on yourself. Get in the gym and, take care of your appearance. Build yourself up. Go to therapy. And girls will chase you. Stop trying to chase Warlord by lusting after it, by trying to, fangirl over other warlords or over warlords, I should say, and learning, those kind of things.
You can fangirl over warlords.
I would tell myself this because, stop trying to fangirl over warlording and go warlord. Go do the work. Put in the work. Don't stop fighting. Prioritize your career. Prioritize your fighting. Prioritize your health. All that other shit that comes for free once you lock all those things down. And I think that was a hard lesson for me to learn, but it's one I did. And doing a lot better than I was in my 20s. Final thoughts, Glenn.
So I guess my final thought then is going to be wisdom of the ages to younger people. And that is start doing everything right now, right? If you like fighting and you want to become a good fighter, right? Just love fighting and fight a lot. When I was coming up, I just fought a lot. I was the first in the field, I'm the last one off the field, right? I still often am. Because I like fighting. And if you like fighting and you want to get good at it and you just put effort into getting good at it, you will eventually become an amazing fighter. It's almost inevitable. If you're passionate about something and you work hard at it, you're going to get good at it. Just how people work. Take care of yourself. Start building good habits. And habits, the key word. It's not about motivation. It's not about discipline because those things go away. But habits are things you do automatically, right? So I go to the gym because it's a habit, right? If I don't go to the gym, I'm like, I forgot to do something. What did I forget to do? Because my day feels incomplete. Not because I love going to the gym and I like picking up heavy things and putting them back down again over and over again. I go to the gym because it's a habit that's just part of what I do. It's just a thing I do now. The importance of nutrition, I think I would definitely emphasize to people. You don't eat just junk, right? In fact, I think all young people should stop drinking so they can fight more. So that way I have more people. Yes. Give up drinking. Nightlife is terrible. Forget about it. Lit ditch fields, that's where it's at.
Bo, final thoughts.
And also more science.
More science. More science.
Yeah, so ironically, I was talking to my Squire Nexus before this, and she had said that, like, I don't, it's not really my focus because I'm not there yet. And I simply said, well, you can't get here if I'm not there first. And it's that, it's that kind of thought process of, like, all the things that I do to prepare for the fight, you should do at 20, you should do at 25, you should do at 30, you should do at 35, 45, 55, any number. If you train yourself physically, whatever that entails, whatever that form that has to take for you, you will see benefit. And it will benefit you outside of fighting. And it will benefit your life every day because you're going to be a happier person. You're going to, these good chemicals that are released by your body by working out every day. The definition of addiction is something that you do all the time that hurts your life, right? Well, that's why you can't get addicted to the gym because it actually doesn't hurt your life. It makes your life better. So, like, there's people who are addicted to exercise and their life gets worse for it. But there's like, that's like the 0.00001% of people that like actually have like a problem of obsessive and stuff. Most people, if you work out every day, it's not an addiction. It's something that benefits your life on the regular. And so that's how, I know before you're talking about therapy and stuff too. That's all things that like you got to do on the regular. Like you got to do that stuff. You got to check in, um, and so uh, I would say start these things because you can. The easiest way to cut off an injury is to rehab it early. The easiest way to cut off a lot of negative behavior in yourself is to get therapy early. Like the easiest way to progress is to get assistance with that progression early. And so early is starting today, tomorrow, right? Like that's early. This, we're all at a spot. You can't go backwards. That's not how time works, at least in our current understandings, anyway. And so we we're progressing forward through this life, and you have to um, start something, and so make progress. And you don't get to be 48 and still be able to fight if you didn't take care of yourself at 35. If you didn't take care of yourself at 30. Um, so I would say just take care of yourself. Make sure you're, making progress in your day to day, putting in things that help you work through your issues, whatever those might be, and then you get to be an old man and go out on the field and watch kids that you used to beat the crap out of whoop up on everybody, including yourself. It's pretty hilarious because, like, a lot of people don't know this. I kind of held over Horus for a while, and the tables have turned so drastically. It's so bad. There's quite a few people actually that I held over back in the day, and now they're vastly in front of me. It's pretty fun to watch because they just go out there and tune people up, and I'm like, man, so long ago they used to sit there and I was the rock that they banged their head against. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That they were like, I'm gonna get Bo. I'm gonna get him. Today's the day I'm gonna get him. And so it's just fun to watch them. And now I'm like, man, these kids, God dang it, I wish I need to go get them. So, but anywho, it's fun to push yourself, and that's what this sport, that's kind of what this sport provides you, is just an avenue to push yourself in a way that you didn't, a way to grow yourself in a way you didn't really fully understand at the beginning anyway. So.
Kill Jaden and
That's
Morpheus. I met those two little motherfuckers when they were 13. And now they're like my hardest fights every Sunday, and I'm like, you son of... But it's wonderful,
Who was the first one? I heard the second one was Morpheus. I know him.
Kill Jaden is the other one.
I don't know them off the top of my head.
He went to I think he was at Gedden this year, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
he went to Gedden with me this year.
All right. Next time we're at an event, point him out so I can get some licks in. I'll let him tune me up for a while.
I will. He's probably going to Gedden again this year. He had a great time. Horace, final thoughts.
2 things. One, if you want to be a certain kind of person, you want to do a certain kind of thing, like, that's an easy way to do that. If you I lack discipline or whatever, is when you say that about yourself, you've taken on this identity as someone who lacks discipline. That's not how you get yourself to have discipline. You wake up in the morning, if you want to have discipline, and you decide that you're the type of person that wakes up in the morning and goes in for a walk or goes to the gym. Like, you just decide that that's what you're going to do, and then you go do it. And the second thing builds on that, which is I read once, being is becoming. And no one, how do you know when someone is a good fighter? Do they suddenly just dings over their head like good fighter? Like, that doesn't happen. Somebody just becomes a good fighter, but at what point during their journey did we start saying they're a good fighter? There isn't one. Like, it just suddenly is, right? If you want to be something, then start becoming that and start doing that. Like, every day you want to be good at fighting, go fight. Go read about fighting, go learn about fighting, go watch the videos. Like, just go do the things that you want to do I know this is like an internet saying now, but like you can just do things like whatever you want to do in life, go pursue it. You don't get there at some point. Like, yeah, there is knighthood or warlord or whatever, but like those people didn't just become what they were right then. That's when they lay the title on you or whatever. You just start walking and one day you're there and you don't even realize you get there. And that's what getting old is like. One day you just wake up and you're like, how the fuck when did I become 35? Like, you're gonna get old no matter what. You're gonna do stuff in your life no matter what. Pursue the stuff you want to do. Go do the things you want to do. Don't make a bunch of excuses and decide to do something easier, because when you do that, you've decided that that's your identity is, I'm the person that cops out and does something easier because I don't want to actually do the things to get where I want to be. Just do the things. It's fun. Especially fighting. Like, just go fight.
Fun. It's so fun. It's the funnest thing I've ever done in my life, you know? And I want to do it as long as I possibly can. I want to thank Glen and Beau for joining us. This has been a great stream. You guys did amazing. Thank you so much. Horus, it's been a great show, man. We're gonna play some Helldivers. You good to go?
Fuck yeah.
Let's fucking get after it.
Helldivers.
Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Remember, don't hide. Be yourself. Catch you next time.